And joining us now, our great friend Karen Strong. Karen, good to have you with us once again.
Oh, thank you for having me back.
You know, recently R. Kelly just kind of melted down in front of everybody. What's up with that?
Oh, whenever you see something like that, it could be one of two things. It could be a falsely accused man who's justifiably angry, upset, and just kind of loses his, composure, since I can't use a bad word on the air, loses composure in front of everyone. And I've seen that happen with men who have been falsely accused of things, or it can actually be a form of gaslighting. Gaslighting means and deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender, which is a form of abuse that's engaged in interpersonal ways, usually by people with borderline personality syndrome and other types of, or disorder rather, and other types of personality disorders. So it could be one of those two things. The sort of the putting on the air of the righteous anger of man falsely accused. So it could be either one. It really. I don't know enough about the case. I know that there's a tape that just surfaced and has been handed over to police that allegedly shows him abusing girls who look like they're not 100% finished with puberty. I'm not prepared to judge as to which case this sort of meltdown on TV. What this is? Is it the justified anger of a righteous man who's been wrongly accused, or is it somebody messing with our heads and trying to play the victim? It could be either one.
Karen, the message that you have on your website for people, we've got an abbreviated segment today, so I just want to make sure that everybody gets the message out that the war on boys continue, the war on men, and you're there to give the other side of the story.
I am, but I always temper that with, I always take a wait-and-see approach, reserve judgment. Everyone has the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty. Sometimes that's not fully proven to us, a criminal court standard, but we can sort of make a judgment, in terms of likelihood of guilt once we see all the evidence. But yeah, I'm a proponent of due process. I'm a proponent of presumption of innocence. I think that men have been systematically denied that. That's been eroded for them over the last 40 years or so, particularly in cases where they come into conflict with women, in cases where men are perceived generally to be perpetrators and women generally victims. I don't like to comment on whether I think a given man who's been accused is guilty or innocent until all the facts come to light. But I do definitely believe that R. Kelly, just like anybody else who's been accused of something horrible, deserves his day in court. He deserves due process, and he deserves the presumption of innocence until things all come to light in a court of law. So,
well, Karen, we appreciate you. We'll have you back, and keep your powder dry. Stay out of trouble.
All right. Well, I can't promise that, but the powder dry, yes, but staying out of trouble, no. So.
Yes, ma'am. God bless. Take care now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Joining us now, filmmaker, documentary filmmaker. He's in town for a Leap of Faith tonight at the Egyptian, a free show. Is Chris Bell. You might remember him from Bigger, Faster, Stronger, a revolutionary young documentarian filmmaker who is in town, who joins us live in studio. Good morning, sir.
How you doing? It's Bigger, Stronger, Faster, by the way.
All right.
Just to clear that up.
There we have it. See, we're so excited to have you here. We didn't get the content correct. So what brings you to town, sir?
I'm here for a screening of my newest film, A Leap of Faith, which is about a plant called kratom. Kratom is a plant from Southeast Asia that a lot of people have been using for pain relief, anxiety relief, relief from depression and PTSD, things like that. But the government doesn't really want us to have it, so the FDA and the DEA have been launching attacks on kratom, or kratom, as it's called by some people. And I'm just out there fighting it because it's something that I use every day.
Well, you don't have a problem putting yourself, as they say, out there, whether it's bigger, stronger, faster, whether it's prescription thugs, trophy kids. How difficult is it to put yourself out there for the public to judge you?
Yeah, so most of my films, I'm at the center, the core of the movie. And I didn't do that on purpose. In the beginning, when I did Bigger, Stronger, Faster, I had two brothers that were on steroids, and I was in the middle of it. And I was the one saying, hey, guys, I don't think you should be doing this. I was kind of the referee in the middle of a younger brother and an older brother. So when I was talking to my producers, they were like, well, you're in the center of this. You have to be in it. And so I just kind of got forced to be in the first one. And then after that, it just seemed fitting to keep myself I think when I keep myself in the center of the documentary, it keeps it very personal. And people have grown to know my family and some people that are friends of mine and around me a lot. And I think it says a lot about you when you can just kind of put it all out there on film.
Right. Easier said than done, though.
Yeah, I know it's definitely hard. It's definitely, it infiltrates your life, and you don't want people to know everything. But in the end, I think by putting it out there, if it can help people, then that's the message. That's the goal. I was addicted to opioids for 6 years. My life went, in the toilet, and to climb out of that and pull myself out of that and show people that you can pull yourself out of that. I'm doing a movie right now on nutrition and diet. I've lost 50, 60 pounds in the past, 2 years.
You're looking like a skinny.
Trying to get working on it, and I do a lot of things that people would find really crazy or weird, but I have a lot of these things that I've come up with and developed that are really simple that can help people, So
now I know about your career because, again, hopefully I can get the name of the movie correct, or you'll correct me again, because I grew up in that culture. But for people that are unfamiliar with you, what can they expect tonight at the Egyptian, a free show with this movie, Leap of Faith?
Yeah, Leap of Faith is a fun movie. I wanted to make something that was fun. I think it's something that it has something for everyone, because this is a plant that no matter what issues you have in your life, these issues affect everyone. Like I said, anxiety, depression, PTSD, and for me, first and foremost, pain. I had a double hip replacement surgery. I show that surgery.
How old are you?
I'm 46.
You're 46 and you already had...
I had it at 35. Yeah, and I showed...
Due to what?
Due to a genetic condition that I had, and I was also a power lifter, so I think that might have exacerbated it. But I had a double hip replacement surgery at 35 years old, and trying to recover from that, I got addicted to opioids because my doctors didn't realize that they had botched the surgery. And so for 2 years, I was walking around limping in pain, addicted to prescription painkillers, and was, desperately trying to get off of them. And I would drive around Los Angeles with tears in my eyes trying to find a rehab or a place that could help me. And so when I was able to find help, and then I was able to find something like Kratom that can help millions of people, like, I have to tell that to the world. I have to bring those stories to the world.
Is there such a thing as a medical food industrial complex?
Medical
food industrial complex. And the food thing, I'm fascinated by your weight loss, but let's just go back to big pharma, big medicine. You're saying that the government or whoever doesn't want you to know about this plant that you're using. Based on your addiction, your recovery, do you think there's such a thing as, big medicine?
Oh, yeah. I don't know how it all works, and I don't necessarily believe in, some of these conspiracy theories, but I do believe that there are people that will organize against something, and it only takes a couple of people to launch an attack on something to make it illegal. You need like one person to complain to somebody in government, or one person to say something. And, we don't know who is or isn't, but you would expect that the people that are selling the opioids and pushing the opioids. And when you look at the FDA and the things that they're approving more opioids, and they're trying to make things like Kratom illegal. Kratom is a plant. It's a natural plant that people can literally take and get off of heroin the next day. And so the government doesn't like things like that because it's not standardized. It's not. I don't suggest that anybody do
that. Now, you
have
to repeat that again, though, that statement about the plant there.
Yeah,
take it once and you're cured of heroin.
No, I did not say that. So you can take it and you can mitigate the withdrawal effects of heroin. So it's not like it's a cure. There are things out there like Ibogaine, for example. Ibogaine is a one-stop shop for heroin addiction, where you can literally drink Ibogaine, 24 hours later, you're over a 20-year-old heroin addiction. And that's been talked about a lot on Joe Rogan's podcast and other places. And the government's really fighting against that too. That's now a Schedule I drug, and they can't even really research it. And there's a lot of research being done on that at the University of Miami, and a lot of research being done right now with Dr. Chris McCurdy at the University of Florida on Kratom, where he's actually growing trees, and he's showing people that this is a non-addictive way to get your pain relief. It's been shown that it can cause a dependency, but it's not addictive in the same way that opioids are, and that's the big difference. It doesn't cause what's called respiratory depression, and the only reason people die from opioid use is respiratory depression. And if kratom can't cause respiratory depression, it can't cause people
So if it
to
is,
die from
if
that.
it's everything that you say, and I guess we'll find out tonight in the film,
Yeah.
why isn't it everywhere?
I think because it was a legal it was a legal plant in Southeast Asia and Thailand, and a long time ago in the 40s they actually banned it because it was cutting into their heroin trade. So people weren't using heroin anymore; they were just chewing on kratom leaves. So Thailand made it illegal, and then over here it had a weird stigma. In the U.S., it had a weird stigma where it's only sold really in smoke shops. That's kind of where you find it. And for me, being a guy from the gym and bodybuilding, like I don't buy my supplements in a smoke shop. I go to a GNC or a vitamin shop or something like that. And kratom was never able to make it on the shelves there because it was never recognized. So in 1994, they passed a law where anything that was on the market already just gets grandfathered in. Kratom was on the market in the U.S. in 1994, but nobody knew about it. So it's been on the market since 1984, actually, in the U.S., but the FDA and the government, like nobody has any proof of it. So
Right.
in order to make that happen, we'd have to be able to prove that it was,
And this is in the film this evening at the Egyptian.
Yeah, we talk about a lot of this stuff in the film. We sort of discuss the whole controversy of why they're trying to make it illegal, and I think the main, like I said, I don't believe in one overall big overarching conspiracy, but I've seen even people in the CBD world not liking kratom because it's competition. So anything that can knock out the competition, there's always going to be somebody looking to take you down, and I think that's the problem with it right now.
All right. If you have a question for Chris Bell, 580-5436, 580-KIDO. You're listening to Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. And why don't we do this? We're going to give away two VIP tickets? Two VIP tickets tonight to A Leaf of Faith at the Egyptian Theater. And Ryan, when is it, 5:30 you want them there?
Yeah, doors open at 5.
Doors open at 5, VIP at 5:30. And what do we have with the VIP? This is very informal. You can just yell at me right now. Go ahead.
Lots of nice hors d'oeuvres, great desserts, mingling with elected officials, and hanging out with Chris.
Elected officials. It's a tough one. Elected officials and Chris.
I think we have some. Do we have some kratom? Are we going to have kratom now?
There are going to be some samples there.
There will be some. Yep, samples of Happy Hippo kratom. Is that it?
We're all about
the brand that's putting on the event, and we'd like to thank them for putting on the event. There'll be samples of kratom. People can try it out.
Caller number 4 at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. This is the People Show. Otherwise, I would hog all the questions. Let's go to Bill in Mountain Home. Well, Bill, why don't you just say your question, because we didn't give Chris the headphones, and then we'll have him answer it when you hang up. Go ahead, please, sir.
Okay. I just wondered about, I've looked into kratom. I've been using opioids for 20 years legally, and I've been decreasing my amount instead of increasing like most people do. Doesn't kratom have opioids in it?
Well, Bill, that's a good question. Thank you for that. Chris, your thoughts?
Kratom is actually an opioid. It's a weak opioid. The difference is, like I said, it doesn't interact with what's called beta-arrestin, which is what causes respiratory depression. The respiratory depression is what's going to kill people from opioids. And also, with that interaction with beta-arrestin, it makes you have to take more and more of it. So the thing with kratom is once you find a dose that's specific to you, you can pretty much stay at and around that dose for quite a long time. I've been at the same dose for about 3 years now, and I take it every day for chronic pain, and I haven't really had to up it too much. And so I think that it doesn't have opioids in it. You won't fail a drug test because of it. It's not the same kind of opioid, I should say. It is an opioid, but it doesn't have the same chemicals that are in Vicodin, Percocet, OxyContin. It's not the same chemical.
All right. We appreciate that. Thank you, Bill. And now we go to the publisher of the Gem State Patriot, Tea Party Bob. This is right up your alley. So Tea Party Bob, please just give us your question and Chris will answer it.
Well, as far as the opioids go, I'd like to know whether there have been any current research projects that have looked into the cases of marijuana being a way of people to get off of the opioids, because I know that the government has been using this method in PTSD cases and in some of the veterans hospitals. So can he elaborate on some of that?
All right, Tea Party Bob,
Yes.
thank you for the call.
Actually, yes, I can. I think that, we're seeing a mass legalization of marijuana, and it's almost ridiculous and ludicrous to see them trying to take something like Kratom in the midst of the biggest drug epidemic we've ever had in this country and make it illegal when it can help so many people. So I think the use of Kratom, marijuana, psilocybin mushrooms, things like ibogaine, all these things, I keep saying just say yes. It's like all the drugs that we've been told to not use are being used. Like they're using ketamine to treat depression. They're using like MDMA to treat schizophrenia and all these other mental illnesses. So we're seeing a large increase in the amount of these drugs, which they were intended originally for these purposes. They just got sort of shelved because people used them for the wrong purposes. They're making a strong comeback, and I think that we're going to see a lot more of this really strong plant-based medicine in the future.
All right, Tea Party Bob, thank you for the call. Traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work. So we go back to a time when you had so many people influencing us, like Schwarzenegger, like Stallone. You examine this in your first film and the impact it had on guys in Boise or Meridian or Sacramento in the gyms. Can you take us to that time?
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I think, changed the world for a lot of us. Luckily, I train at Gold's Gym in Venice, California, and I get to see Arnold every day. So he went from being a hero to being somebody I say, hey, what's up, every day and give a fist bump to. So I think that's really cool and interesting. To me, it was larger than life characters doing larger than life things. So, you'd see Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's out on the beach, he's got all these girls hanging off his arms, and you're like, I got to get out to, Venice Beach. And then the muscle magazines really hyped up Venice Beach so much, they were trying to sell it. They were trying to sell it to you. And I bought in hook, line, and sinker. I went to USC Film School, and I had a choice between going to USC or NYU. Those are the schools I got into and applied to. And I went to USC specifically to go to California, train at Gold's Gym, and become part of that culture because it's something I always really loved. I actually am working on a scripted project right now about that whole era in the late 80s, early 90s when steroids became really popular in America due to a guy named Dan Duchaine, who was known as the steroid guru. So that's what the upcoming show is about.
But the psychology of it all, will we ever have that again when you have these strong male role models and in Bigger, Stronger, Faster, you reveal that, look, even though I took the protein powder, I trained, I wasn't going to get as big unless I took the drugs.
Yeah, we went so far away from that culture of muscle, and we've gone so far in the other direction until I think like The Rock came back and got super jacked and people were back into it. So I think there's been a little bit of a resurgence with guys like The Rock, he's one of my favorite guys to follow, just inspirational, and he's always out, he's always doing something. So I think the message, regardless of what people decide to use or not, is always going to be a positive, healthy message because people are out doing stuff. And I think people have a misconception with steroids. I think when people use steroids, they're cheating or they're not doing the work or they're not putting in the work. But, as we say in Bigger, Stronger, Faster, the people that use steroids are so into training, they love training, that they actually are doing it so they can work out harder and push themselves more. I'm not saying that that's good. It's just it is what it is.
Right, but that whole culture, and we have it here with all our gyms and such, and there are a few hardcore gyms like there used to be, but the idea of that mindset where, as you detail with your family, your brothers, pro wrestling, training, that sort of thing, football, they gave it all.
Yeah.
Can you take us into that world? And I know I've asked you that question a couple times because many people, they get their cup of coffee, maybe they go to the gym, maybe they do CrossFit, but it is such a...
It consumes you.
Yeah.
It's an all-day, everyday thing, and that's the thing with... I was a power lifter growing up, which is a little bit different because powerlifting, you could lift a lot of weight and you could be overweight. It didn't matter if you had a gut. It was like you use that as an excuse, like, hey, it helps my squat or whatever. But when you're bodybuilding,
right.
And that's more what I'm getting into is more of I'm not competing in bodybuilding or anything, but getting more into like just building a good physique. And it's 24/7, 7 days a week. You have to do it all the time. You have to stay on your diet. You got to stay on your plan. So it becomes very seductive in a way that like you when you get results, you want more results. So you keep diving deeper into that world. And I think that, I don't know, most of the guys that I know that are into it are like really, really into it. It's very hard to be passive in sort of the weight training world because you get blown by so quick. Like you'll go back into the gym. If you took a bunch of time off, you go back in the gym, you'll get smoked and you won't want to go again. So I think that the people that get into it get really deep into it. And that's why it's become, such a cultish culture in kind of a good way, though. I think
more mainstream, though.
Yeah,
you
I've learned so much from the gym. I've met so many great people in the gym. I think the gym has been my number one social outlet in my entire life, and I've been able to make several documentaries and films based on people I've met in the gym, basically.
Right.
That's kind of how it's worked for me. So for me, it's been a great experience.
When we go to your films, Bigger, Stronger, Faster, Trophy Kids, Prescription Thugs, A Leap of Faith, what's the biggest lesson that you've gotten from any of them that you could share with us?
Just being honest and telling the truth isn't dangerous. When you are honest and you tell the truth and you have nothing to hide, people can attack you all they want, but they can't hurt you. You've already hurt yourself. You've already dove on the sword, I guess. And there's not really much people can say or do at that point. If you're honest, if you're honest and open and you have nothing to hide, then your stories will shine through. And for me, the biggest takeaways, like the things that I got out of each one, are uniquely different. But I feel like I've grown with each film. It's like you'll do a film and you'll learn a little bit. You do a film and you'll learn a little bit. And I thought all my learning was done after I went to school. But even more recently, diving into a movie about nutrition, I thought I knew everything about nutrition growing up in the bodybuilding world.
Yeah.
And once I dove into that world and started saying, like, I don't even know what a carbohydrate is. I know what it is, but I don't even really know, science-wise what these things are. I don't know a lot of these facts and things that you need to know in order to have the knowledge to manipulate your diet in the right way to get in the shape that you want to get in. Now that I've went through the process of learning all of it, I'm constantly learning every day, and I think that's an important message to send out. Is people should be learning.
At 46, you're still learning.
Yeah, every day. Yeah, I'm always listening to a new audio book or a new podcast, or I'm always seeking information.
Finally, because there's a business behind this, it's the golden age of creating documentaries. Everybody loves it. But back to convincing someone to finance your project.
Yeah.
Bigger, Stronger, Faster. How did you convince people? I mean, Magnolia got
Bigger,
behind
Stronger,
it.
Faster was great. I had a friend.
When you say, hey, I'm going to do this film about me, and they're going to go, you?
Yeah,
You're a great guy, but hey.
It wasn't really like that. We had a really well mapped out plan of what we wanted to do. And we just went in and we had a conversation with an investor, and he was really into this world too. And like I said, the people that are into it are really into it. And once I started telling him about, how the Olympics, there's all these cover-ups in the Olympics, and hey, look, I know this guy, and he's the one that busted all these guys with all these drug tests, and I met this guy and this guy. And as I'm talking to him, he just says, I wish they had an Olympics where you could take anything you want. And I said, well, actually, that was a skit on Saturday Night Live with a big Russian guy.
Right.
He goes to deadlift 1,500 pounds, and he rips his arms off. And it's like Kevin Nealon and I think Phil Hartman, and it's hilarious, right? That's actually in Bigger, Stronger, Faster, that little scene. And the guy was like, yeah, man, I'm in. And so for that film, that was actually easy to get the financing because we just found the right guy at the right time. On my second film, Trophy Kids, it was kind of the same way. I met a guy who had a lot of money, and he was looking to do something positive. And when I told him about Trophy Kids, he had experienced the same things with his kids in sports. And he said, I don't want other kids to have to go through this. I want to put money into this. And so they invest money into it. It's definitely the hardest part is getting somebody to write a check to make the movie. But I think if you have what ends up happening, it all happens at the right time. And when you have enough information and you do enough hustling to get all that information down, you usually have a pretty solid story by that point. So as long as I've put in the work to get it to the point where it's pitchable,
right,
then I think it's so convincing at that point where you're like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. He knows what he wants to do, and they write the check. And so it is the hardest part, but I think when you put in the preparation and put in the work and learn everything that you can up to that point, it makes it a lot easier to get the money to do it.
30 seconds advice to wannabe documentary filmmakers.
Get out there and shoot, and edit, and put your stuff out. My biggest fear when I was younger was being judged by everybody. I had a fear of people watching my stuff. Even tonight, like I don't even know if I'll sit in the movie and watch it,
right?
Because I get this weird feeling. But you have to do those things. You have to go through the fire, in a way. So I think that my advice to young filmmakers is get out there and shoot and edit as many things as you can. Do as many YouTube videos as you can. Don't think that you're above anything, and just keep working. The more you work the craft, the more you excel at it.
Chris Bell, thank you, brother.
Thank you.
A Leaf of Faith tonight at the Egyptian, 5:30. Doors open. Is that right?
For
VIPs. 7 o'clock, regular show. All right. You're listening to Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
And joining us now is the commissioner of the Big Sky Conference, Tom Wistrcell. Mr. Wistrcell, thank you for joining us, Mr. Commissioner.
Well, it's great to be on. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here in the Treasure Valley. So it's a big week for the Big Sky, big week for basketball. Tell us a little how excited you all are to be here in Boise.
Well, it's great to be here. The city and the people have really embraced us, and to have all 22 of our teams here in Boise and down here at CenturyLink Arena for our tournament this week. It's been a great couple days. Day 2 of the tournament starts today, but I can tell you the people have been wonderful. We're really excited to hopefully make this a permanent home for our tournament.
Boy, that's pretty good after only being here a day or two. Why the Treasure Valley after being in Reno for so many years, sir?
Well, we spent many years going to the first to the top seed, the conference winner, and the coaches and administrators really wanted to go to a neutral site. I went to Reno for 3 years, and it was good, but not great. And so I think Boise put together a really good bid. We think the matchup of having the arena around the Grove here with the hotels and the restaurants and the bars down here just made for a great tournament setting. And so, I've only been on board for about 3 months, but I can tell you the 2 or 3 times I've been here previously, just seeing the reception you get from the business community and the city leadership and the people at the arena here have really made this different. And I heard it yesterday. We had 3 women's games yesterday, and heard a lot of comments from our coaches and student athletes about this really felt like a tournament, and that was exciting because it's about the experience we can provide for our student athletes. And so far, after one day, it's been really good.
What about the business of college sports these days? You've got your big conferences, your super conferences, the old Division I AA. What about the future of the Big Sky, sir? And again, as you said, you're the 7th commissioner. You've been on the job for 3 months. I'm sure you've hit the ground running.
Well, yeah. The great thing about college athletics is that, there are passionate fans everywhere and at every level. And, yeah, there's the levels are real. The Power 5 conferences and those teams certainly command a tremendous amount of respect in that. But, the way I look at it is anytime you have a state name in the schools, it's important. And so we have Idaho and Idaho State in our conference. So it's really important to the people of Idaho. We have Montana and Montana State in our conference. So it's really important to the people in Montana. And so, now we have a big conference spread out over many states in the West. And so there's a nice niche that we have. And no, it's not about, gathering hundreds of millions of dollars like it is at the Power 5 level. But this is about providing a point of pride for the universities, a great marketing arm for them as they reach into the local communities, and then providing great opportunities for our student athletes to come in and play a high level of athletics, get a great education, and then go on to make something of themselves in their communities. So, there's the future of college athletics, I think, is really bright because the fans are still passionate about their teams. They're passionate about where they went to school, and they show up to cheer those teams on. And that's why it's fun to come celebrate, for our men's and women's basketball programs at a place like this, because it's a culmination of things. Because we don't send multiple teams to the tournament. Usually we're a one-bid league. So whoever cuts down the nets on Friday for the women and Saturday for the men, they're going to the NCAA tournament. And so there's a lot to play for and provides, like I said, a great environment for that.
What about most of these athletes? They will, get jobs in the real world. How important is it to have a league like the Big Sky? and whether it's football, whether it's basketball, sir, as we're talking about tonight, to let them compete and to show their wares and to welcome all the alumni to the Treasure Valley.
Yeah, for the student athlete perspective, there's so many things that they learn beyond the classroom. Being an athlete, you learn to work hard towards the goal. You learn to work with different types of people. You got to fight through adversity. From being tired and being wore down and finding ways to achieve your goals. Those are all great life qualities that you can build off of in your future. So that's the great thing that college athletics does. It's a great thing that athletics does. Period. About building those types of things. As we think about bringing our tournament here to the Treasure Valley, it's all about that experience that we can provide. So for our student athletes and our fans, some of them have been to Boise, many of them have not. And so for an opportunity for them to come to this great city and feel a part of this championship and the tournament experience, again, that's what it's all about. That's why we do in college athletics, whether it's at, the Division I, Division II, Division III level. It's about those experiences and being a point of pride for those universities.
What do you say to the fans that are looking for some great action and would like to come down to CenturyLink this weekend?
Well, we've got a great week planned. We've got 4 women's games today. We've got 5 games tomorrow, 3 men's games and 2 women's games. Building all the way to Friday at 1 o'clock is our women's championship game, and then Saturday night at 6 p.m. is our men's championship game. And I would just encourage the fans to come down and check it out. You're going to see a really high level of basketball, whether it's men's or women's. It's very family friendly. We've got a great fan fest out in the Grove, right next to the arena here. Right in downtown, lots of interactive stuff. Bring the kids down and have some fun. And then, ticket prices, $10 for the women's, $13 for the men's. So very cost affordable for everybody to come down and enjoy what it's all about. We think we've got a great product here for people and just encourage them to give it a chance down here.
Well, we appreciate you, sir. Good luck, Mr. Commissioner. Anything else you'd like to share with us?
No, just thanks for having me on. We really enjoyed Boise and appreciate the chance to come on and talk about it and encourage everybody to come down.
Have a great day, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, from the Big Sky Commissioner to our great friend Jesse with a wonderful announcement about a school embracing the community and our friend Todd Carlson. Good morning, Jesse.
Hi, Kevin. This is Jesse. I'm Jack Stewart's daughter, a.k.a. Patrick Henry. A lot of you will remember my dad. I would like to invite you and your listeners to a very special event tomorrow evening at the Compass Charter School at 7 p.m. Now, Compass is located off of Overland next to the Roaring Springs Water Park in Meridian, and it actually was the former University of Phoenix building. And I've invited Todd Carlson, who was a former Army guard of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. I heard Todd give his speech about a year ago. I took my dad to a dinner sponsored by the Salvation Army on Armed Forces Day, and Todd shares his experience being a guard at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and his talk is amazing. And I thought this was very appropriate because a year ago this month, Compass School had a field trip, if you will, 40 students to Washington, D.C. and New York City. And my husband and I went as chaperones. And visiting the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier was one of the most amazing highlights. We all witnessed the changing of the guard. So I'd just like to invite you. It is open to the public, and that's tomorrow evening at 7 o'clock.
Yeah, Todd does a wonderful job, and whether it's running Front Street fights or Men of Honor or training or talking about his time at the Tomb of the Unknown, I don't know if words can do it justice from you, Jesse, respectfully, or myself, of how solemn that is and how dedicated those folks are when they, guard the tomb 24/7, 365, through thick, through thin, just a solemn place in American history.
Yes, it is amazing. And I personally had no idea of what those guys go through. And this is where it's amazing to hear Todd talk about it. So I think it'll be time well spent. And for me, it's kind of an emotional time. And I guess it was because several years ago, my dad went on the honor flight, which was World War II veterans, went back to Washington, D.C., and toured the wall of the World War II vets. And when they went to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, my dad, of course, out of respect, dressed in his Sunday best with his shining shoes and white shirt and tie and his suit. And I think because of the way he was dressed, and most of the other vets were in tennis shoes and jeans and a T-shirt, they asked my dad to put the wreath on the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. So it's kind of special for me.
Well, indeed, and we miss your dad, and he sure loved the Treasure Valley, and what a treasure you are, Jesse.
Well, thank you very much. And if I can share this with people, it's my pleasure.
Well, again, Compass Public Charter School tomorrow in Meridian. What time again?
7:00. And the seating is limited, so you'll want to be sure to come early, get a seat.
We love those folks at Compass, and we love you, Jesse. Take care.
Thank you, Kevin.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. All right, coming up next, the press gets feisty. And, of course, speaking of feisty, we'd love to hear from you as well. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio for entertainment purposes only. Our hero, Sarah Sanders, held a press conference yesterday at the White House, the first briefing in 42 days. And Jim Acosta was back in rare form. Let's take a listen.
Yes, did the president ask Gary Cohn to intervene or block AT&T's merger with Time Warner?
And I'm not aware of any conversations around that matter.
And just to get back to John and Hallie's question about the president's comments about Democrats and Jewish people, isn't that kind of rhetoric just sort of beneath everybody? And do you think that the president has thought at all going into this 2020 campaign that the rhetoric just needs to be lowered, whether it's talking about Democrats, the media, immigrants, or should we just plan on hearing the president use the same kind of language that we heard in 2016 and all through the first couple of years of this administration?
Look, I think that the real shame in all of this is that Democrats are perfectly capable of coming together and agreeing on the fact that they're comfortable ripping babies straight from a mother's womb or killing a baby after birth, but they have a hard time condemning the type of comments from Congresswoman Omar. I think that is a great shame. The president has been clear on what his position is, certainly what his support is for the people and the community of Israel. And beyond that, I don't have anything further for you, Jim.
That just sort of drags down the rhetoric in the debate when you're saying something that's just patently untrue. I mean, obviously,
stating their policy.
You know, here you have a press secretary calling them out, and essentially what the press is mad about is Donald Trump said the Democratic Party does not like Jewish people. This in response to the lack of any type of restrictions or punishments for Representative Omar, stating that it's all about the Benjamins and that if you're loyal to Israel, then you're loyal to Israel over America. Then you had Judge Jeanine say, well, she's more loyal to Sharia than America. And then Sarah Sanders is answering this question. So instead of the point being, here you have a member of Congress, all of what, 24, 25, scaring well into her senior years, Nancy Pelosi, well into their senior years, the Democrats running for president. Instead of addressing those comments, they throw down a watered-down resolution, and the president, because he's so popular, calls him out, and you have the press defending Omar, justifying it as if she's incapable of understanding the words that she says. And here you have Sarah Sanders calling them out. Boy, we know what the Democratic Party stands for nationally.
Positions
but Democrats don't hate Jewish people. It's just silly. It's not true.
I think they should call out their members by name, and we've made that clear.
I'd say, is there a question here, Jim? Is there a question here, Jim? To me, it's just statements.
I don't have anything further. April?
President,
sorry, Jim.
His rhetoric after Charlottesville saying that there are very fine people on both sides in Charlottesville, essentially suggesting that there are very fine people in the Nazis.
That's not at all what the president was stating. Not at any point. The president has been incredibly clear and consistently and repeatedly condemned hatred, bigotry, racism in all of its forms, whether it's in America or anywhere else. And to say otherwise is simply untrue.
There you have it. Thank you, Sarah Sanders, for sticking up for us. Hey, the commitment to keeping the Treasure Valley Great continues on with Glenn Beck. But first, traffic and weather together.
Kevin's Eric Gabbard.
And I'm Kevin Miller. Ray Amaya, thank you. Great job as always. Thank everybody for listening. But don't go anywhere. Glenn Beck, Dave Ramsey, and then Sean Hannity and Lars Larson will take you home as they do each and every weekday night right here on KIDO Talk Radio. Tomorrow, big show. Heidi Harris joins us along with David Bozell, some big newsmakers, talking about the news that impacts you, Treasure Valley. I can't wait to hear what you have to say. But like I said, the talk does not stop. Glenn is next. We sure appreciate his great work. Thanks to Ryan and the young lady and Chris Bell coming in. Big event tonight. Leaf of Faith. It's free at the Egyptian. Check that out. Good day. God bless and keep the faith.